do it. Hello interwebs, welcome to Let's Build Computers. I'm here with my friend Kyle. Say hello.
Hello interwebs.
Yeah. We're building his new computer. So this computer has been a long time waiting. When did we start planning this? Was it July?
I might be sooner than that, I would imagine.
Yeah, or
spring,
a bit later.
I think. Yeah.
Or spring. Yeah. Well, you were threatening to do it at the start of the year, weren't you?
Yes.
Yeah. But the problem is, it got into late summer, and we got into the realm of the 30 series is coming. It's coming, and then the 30 series didn't come. Everyone watching knows what happened with that, and I was like, okay, but also Ryzen 4000 is coming. It's on its way. It's on its way. However, it's been announced. Ryzen 5000 has been announced as of making this video. However, then Prime Day happened, and the 3800X went down to £300 in the UK, which is a very, very good price for that CPU. And with the availability of other parts, it got to the point where we're just like, enough is enough. Let's just build it. We don't have a 30 series card. We don't have a new Ryzen. But enough is enough. We have waited most of the year, and this is exactly why when building a computer, when some people start saying, oh, should I wait for this? Should I wait for that? Just build it. Otherwise, you get to the point that we're at with this build where could have built this 6 months ago. Like this exact configuration. We could have built this 6 months ago and been enjoying it for half a year by now, So, yeah. Because we're both from different towns, we're masking up today, so hopefully it's not too muffled. The case, that was another adventure as well. We were trying to get hold of a Fantex P500A because the P500A, that was the one that we had our hearts set on. I've been saying in quite a few videos that I wanted to look at a P500A, and so we waited. They've finally shown up, and you can get them in the UK now. And then I realised, or rather I was informed, that the P500A is actually quite a large case. And I hadn't realised. I mean, I knew it was slightly bigger, but I thought it was sort of normal rather than compact. No, the P500A is actually quite a big case, and it would have been too large. So we're like, guess we'll just buy a P400A, which has been available for the past 6 months. So we've got a Fantex P400A here. Now, I've built in Fantex P400 cases before, but not the airflow case and not the one with the RGB. So this is sort of the latest revision of this case that I really like. I like this case a lot. So we'll do an overview of that. We've got a Ryzen 7 3800X, really good CPU, picked it up at a really good price. Then we've got 16 gigs of Corsair RGB RAM. We've got a Corsair power supply. We've got an RM850X, so really good power supply that will be absolutely fine for whatever graphics card we end up going with in the future. So if we end up getting our hands on a 3080, then this will be able to power a 3080. And then we've also got the H100i RGB Pro XT water cooler. We've seen those before. Nice water coolers, good for everything. We've got a Sabrent 1TB Rocket SSD there. Graphics card that we're going in, we've got a 1660 Super at the moment. Now this is going to be a loaner card from myself. This is one that I've got in the shop. And what we're going to do is we're going to chuck this in the computer so it has a modest graphics card in it that is good for most general games. And then as soon as either a decent 30 series or or one of the new AMD RX 6000 series cards are actually available to purchase, we're going to buy one of those and slap it in there. And as you can see, we've got an Asus Tough Gaming X570 Plus as well, which is a good all-round motherboard. And again, we'll do a quick overview of that when it goes in as well. So that's all the parts. Right, I have waffled for 5 minutes now. Let's get into it. Yeah, the old Sabrent Rocket, the Sabrent SSDs. Look at this. Look at that. You get this.
It's nice, man.
It's nice, and you'll never ever use it again.
It's just
like, this is lovely presentation, but who needs this? And I'm like, I love it, but like, where am I going to use it? Like, I've got one there, and I keep keeping them going, oh, look at that. That's a lovely box to keep an SSD in. It's like, you know where I keep my SSDs? In my computer.
You're not going to like travel around with that and go, I'm going to take out my M.2 and go to friends.
That's it. Yeah. So it's just like, I love the presentation, but it's just so unnecessary as well. So
Anchor are the same actually. Anchor always ship stuff in really nice boxes and well thought out packaging and stuff. It's always quite nice stuff, but you're always like, my cable's out. I'm gonna use this.
Yeah. Right. Okay. So next thing we've got to do, we're going to put in our CPU, we're going to put in our RAM, and we're going to put in our M.2 SSD. Which I guess we're going to stick in the low slot because that's where the heatsink is on this one. Normally you'd expect to see the heatsink on the high slot, but it looks like they've opted to heatsink the lower slot on this one. However, it doesn't actually make any meaningful difference anyway. I've just quickly confirmed that. Slot 1 for your first M.2 slot does connect directly to the CPU. So it will theoretically get slightly lower latency, but this isn't something that you're actually going to see any difference in, again, on a gaming computer. Workstation loads where latency is absolutely critical, maybe. However, on a gaming computer like this, we're actually better off putting it in the low slot where we've got the heatsink on it, just to give it that little bit extra bit of cooling, which likewise isn't going to make any meaningful difference anyway. However, it's more useful to have cooling on it than it is to have a fraction of a millisecond of latency, which you're not going to notice anyway. So I'm voting that we stick it in slot 2 under the heatsink.
Okay.
So yeah. Right, let's start with your CPU. So CPU, and I'll start unboxing this guy again. So this basically hasn't changed since the last time you built a computer.
No.
Unlock the socket, drop the chip in, lock the socket again, basically.
Job's a good one.
Okay, and then there's a notch I can see here.
Yeah, so it goes around the orientation you've got it. So have we got... Oh, there's no gold. There's a tiny triangle there. Not that I'm sure that used to be a bigger gold triangle, but at any rate, yeah, that's the notch, and that one lines up with that triangle there.
Oh, I see that.
So yeah,
okay.
Right. So yep, drop that guy in. Yeah, that's it. You're fine, and just let that sort of locate in. Bit in that direction. There you go, and it's in.
A wiggle test.
Yep.
Decal saved for another day.
Yep, and then you can literally just push that lever back down again.
So just a gentle wiggle to make sure it was in.
Yeah. Bam, that's it.
Hey, wow.
Done and sorted. Good.
Excellent.
Right. So next up is the RAM. With the RAM, it does matter which slots you put it in. This board is actually good enough to tell us. You can see it's got the DIMM B1, B2, A1, A2 there. That little asterisk next to B2 and A2, that denotes that those are the two primary slots that we populate first.
Excellent.
Now, because this is an Asus board, it's got single latching slots, so they only open at one end, not both ends.
Oh, interesting.
I really hate these. However, I don't hate them enough for it to be a deal breaker on a motherboard. Okay. I just wish that manufacturers, Asus are terrible for using these. I just wish they'd stop using them because they make it so much more unpleasant to fit memory modules, in my opinion.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, at any rate, it's more than doable. So let's break out those modules.
So we're using 2 and 2.
Yeah, that's right. So you gotta pick up your module, figure out which way around it goes, because obviously it's an offset notch there. So
let's go for this one here, which is loose.
Yeah, get your orientation right. So that's going to go. Yeah, that's it. So this end goes in first. So you want to try and dig that corner down into that corner.
Oh, I see. Into the.
Yeah, I need to move more in that direction so it goes right into the slot.
Oh, I see. Right in the end.
Yeah, that's it. So now push that down until it stops. I think you're not quite lined up. That your hand there needs to go that direction a bit. That's it. Okay, yeah, that's it. So that end goes down. Yep, that's that end in. And now this guy should just go down and click. Give it a good press.
And the little catch going to come up in this area.
Yeah, there you go.
Hey, okay. That was a less satisfying click than that end.
I was going to say, I noticed the same thing.
It was like a.
So yeah, I'm just going to have a quick feel just to. Yeah, that's fine. That's all good. That's golden. Rinse and repeat for the other one.
Hey, here we go. Notched. Lined up there this time.
Yeah.
That was a nice. That's a
I was going to say, those slots actually sound really good. Yeah, down it goes. And just pinch those two together. So finger on there, thumb on there, and just pinch them together.
Ah,
yeah,
nice.
There you go.
Okay.
That's the pinch test is always the good acid test, because you can, especially if you have ones that latch at both ends, and you just do that pinch, and because these cannot close unless the module is in far enough. So if you can pinch them together, it's pulling it down as much as it is locking it in, kind of thing.
Gotcha.
So yeah,
and there was no pressure that just kind of went.
Yeah, SSD. So we've got to take off these bits. So I would grab. I'd use that screwdriver for that. So these two are going to come out. Tell you what, I'm going to get the other end for you. You'll also notice that this guy has got a thermal pad on the bottom, so we want to peel that off before we set that down as well.
Interesting. Okay.
So what I'm going to do is, even though we're not using this top slot, I'm going to put the standoff and a screw in there anyway, so it's fitted to the board, and then you don't have a random screw in a packet, and you're like, what the hell is that for?
That's an excellent idea.
So yeah. So I'm just going to stick that in there. Cool, right, so same thing on that end. So if you stick that one in there, so that is going to want to go into, yes, that one there.
Third one there. Okay.
As you may have guessed, you can get M.2 cards that are various lengths. They're nearly always 80 millimeters long, which is the one we're looking at there. Good, right, so now the drive goes in. So this guy goes in, it goes in at a 45-degree angle and then folds flat to the board.
Okay, right.
So it should go in with almost no resistance at all. A bit lower, and then just give it a push in there, and it should just... That's it. Yeah, there you go. You got it. That's it. And then that just sits flat, and then the screw will just hold that down. Bang in. That's it. Cool. Right, and then the heatsink can go on top.
That's all.
Which I've just picked up, so I'm just going to do that. I'm stealing your peel. I'm stealing
I'm sure
your
there'll
peel.
be more peels to come. I can see a nice juicy one over here.
Oh yeah, you get to do the tempered glass. Yeah, that's. I've often been chastised for peeling other people's windows when building their computers.
Oh,
and I'm just like,
people
well,
are annoyed on their behalf that they didn't get the joy.
Exactly. Right, that's just going to sit on there, and we just need to sort of locate that in place. Is that one going in?
That is.
Yeah, and again, I'm just going to take that down to the stop. Yep, there we go. So it's not putting any kind of high pressure on there, and the thermal pad itself has obviously got a little bit of squidge in there as well.
Gotcha, yeah.
So that's it, that's fitted. That's it, and our motherboard is built up. That's it. So I mean, normally if we were going to air cool, this is the point where we mount up our air cooler as well.
Yeah.
But because we're water cooling, we don't need to worry about that. Right. Okay. So what we're going to do now, we're going to take all the side panels off.
Okay.
Yeah. So these side panels off. So that's our addressable RGB header.
Okay.
So yeah. And, oh, that's nice. It's got a daisy chain connector. Yeah, basically this means you can daisy chain more RGB fans off of it later on.
Oh, cool. Okay.
And add them into the same system. That's a nice touch that they've put that in there. If you were using like flat colors, like if you were just going to leave it all on white, then I would probably just leave it on standalone and just set it.
Okay.
However, if you wanted it on like rainbow wave, because you wanted the rainbow colors, then you would want to put it on motherboard controlled, because it would make sure that it's in time with motherboard lights, which will be coming off of your RAM and your and the graphics card.
Yep.
And the water cooler. And in addition to that, you might find that the motherboard control is smoother transitions. So the rainbow wave on the built-in controller, it might be going, whereas the motherboard will be really smooth.
Nice,
and you'll be able to adjust the speed of it and stuff like that. So there's pros and cons. If you're just doing flat colors, though, it's probably easier just to go click, 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 white, done, and not have to bother programming it all in and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
I say having the option to program it in would be good. As we're here at this stage, that seems sensible.
We'll certainly investigate that.
Cool.
I normally undo all of this pre-plumbing because we're probably going to rearrange all of this anyway. So I'm just going to pull those back a little bit. I'm actually going to pull those right out just so we can pull that up.
Cool.
And we're just going to pull all of this back.
Those cable-y things.
Yeah, I'm just going to... Because as you can see, this hasn't been done with any real kind of intention.
No, it's just...
it's literally just been tossed in the case at assembly kind of thing. So I just pull all of this out. There are some cases you buy where it has actually been, like NZXT, one of the good things about them, which is one of the things that makes them expensive as well, is all of these fan cables and stuff would have been meticulously plumbed in around the edges of the case and stuff like that. But that's also one of the reasons why they're obnoxiously expensive. Because, yeah, obviously that's a lot of extra, that's additional assembly. And that makes them more pricey. And, you know, if you're gonna redo all the wires anyway, then whatever. Right, look at this is the problem with RGB. This is all fan.
Wow, that is quite a lot.
Yeah, this is all fans. Right, what I want to get is I want to separate out the actual fan wires from the RGB wires.
Okay. Oh, I see. Okay, I think they arranged them that way because the labels are the same way.
Yeah. However, mainly, like we can, if we unscrew these and lift them out, we can just align that just so this is tucked around the side, basically.
Gotcha.
So the labels will still be the right way up.
Oh, I see. There's like a channel.
That's right. But you can get it just so they side exit.
Excellent.
So,
okay.
Right. How does the front panel come off? Is this a rip-off job? I think it is. I'm gonna go for the rip. Yeah. Feels horrible when you do that. However, that's exactly how you do it.
Reminds you of car trim. When you pull a piece of car trim off and it just says pull it off now, you're just kind of going,
are you sure?
There's no give in this. And then suddenly...
Yeah. And you're like, this is very expensive if it snaps. Right, so I'm just going to channel those around the edge. Oh, yes, the top exit. So... Right, it fits very precisely, so I'm just going to back out all the screws a little bit just so I can get a 1/2 mil gap between the fans. And that'll give us enough space for those wires. One thing I like already is I can see that there's like a good 8 LEDs on each fan, which is nice. That's going to give a really nice spread of light. I did work with some Corsair fans recently where there was only 4 LEDs in each fan,
kind of in the hub, in the center.
just at north, south, east, west, and it just wasn't enough to really give a nice blend of light.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, that's one of their early ones, you know.
Oh, I see. The fan mounts have got a kind of an elliptical hole, so you can
a
bit of vertical play.
It's a rail, as you can see at the back here. The holes are rails, so the fans move up and down a bit.
Gotcha.
And it just allows you to. It just gives you that little bit of adjustment for whatever reason. So yeah, if you've got to clear a wire, or if it's just fouling something, or sometimes it just allows you just so, like for example with the rear fan, you can. These are quite short rails, but often those rails will be a little bit longer, and it just makes sure that you can have it perfectly aligned with your CPU cooler fan and things like that.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Which is it's just a nice thing.
Yes. This is where the cable tidying starts at the very beginning of everything, when you have all the room to play around with it, I suppose. And... Yeah,
that's right. Although you tend to adjust cable tidying all the way as you go through the computer, but you need to be looking at it from the beginning.
Yeah.
Because just so you can just if you're looking at it and thinking about it from the very beginning, it's less you have to do afterwards.
Indeed.
And it just makes, like, now as you can see, those wires have just disappeared now.
Yeah.
And like I don't think any of that will have come out on the camera, but it just means that instead of just having those little noodly guys visible and disappearing, they're not visible at all now. And that just, we spent another 10 minutes sticking around with the fan, so it just means that the build suddenly takes so long to do, but the finish it just gives you that finish you want.
Yeah.
Okay, right, the original reason why I was doing that is so I could organise the fan wires. I can already hear the people typing comments going, oh, this is why I don't like RGB. I'm like, no, me either. However, it looks cool though. I'd have loved to have all of this stuff when I was a kid. In my PC.
Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Just all the wonderful things.
Yeah.
I remember looking at very briefly in that era when I said I last built a computer, I think Akaza used to have a fully perspex case that came fully loaded with all RGB coloured LED
cold cathodes and stuff. Yeah, on LED fans. Yeah,
and just kind of like. Wow,
I always wanted one of those cases, but I was never brave enough to take the plunge.
Ditto.
Because you had to be MLG Pro with your cable tidying.
There was nowhere to hide.
I still kind of want to track one down these days. Just that would be cool. There's so many old cases that I want to track down, buy, and build up.
Yeah.
Just because I thought they were cool back in the day, but I have no reason to own one.
No, just to kind of scratch that itch.
Yeah,
as it were. Yeah,
yeah. Maybe I buy. Maybe I'll get to the point where I can just buy this stuff, build it up, and sell it.
Someone else would be going. Yeah, hey, I remember that case. That was
yeah. Who knows? Okay, right. What I'm going to do with this RGB bundle, I'm literally just going to bundle that up like that, and I'm going to cable tie that together, and we'll just leave him there for now. And we may be able to do something more with that later, but we'll just leave that there. And then it's dealt with and it's out of our way, which is the important thing.
And it's all already connected at factory, so it's all...
Yeah. For me, if it were my computer, I'd probably end up leaving that there for the rest of the build. We'll see if we can just tie him somewhere just so he's not flapping around, just for posterity. But I would just leave that there, because he can just tuck in behind there, you see? And it's just like, you don't need to do anything else. We could run it down and have it tied into this loom. However, I would rather have it separated out so it's out of the way.
It's less bulk to come this way, isn't it? Yes.
Because this loom will get hectic. And plus this loom is going to have stuff in it doing stuff. Yes. And because this bundle of wires isn't doing anything, it's not going anywhere, it's just excess wire. I just want that separate and out of the way. That's my philosophy. So. Right, no idea what we're going to be doing with those fan wires yet, so I'm just going to bury them all over here. They'll be going to the motherboard at some point, but we don't know where yet. Okay. So just going to put them down there. Okay, right, so now what we're going to do, we're going to loom these separate guys up. I'm just going to loosely tie these back just to hold things in place for now. These are going to come in and out several times. Yeah. But yeah, we've separated out the wires that don't belong in there, which is the main thing. Yeah. This is that stage of the build where you spend a long time achieving very little, but now you know what all the wires are.
Yeah, you know when you get to this end of the loop, the stuff you're going to use.
That's right. You have to visualize and you have to affirm what it is, where it's going, and whether it needs to be there or not. And And there's a lot of this section that gets cut out in the video, which will have been cut out in this video by the time you've seen it, because we've probably been messing around with these wires for about 20 minutes now. And just like, there's no need for that to be in the video. However, yeah, it takes ages. It's normal for it to take a while. So, cool, right. So what we're going to do now, let's drop in our power supply. Because we've got a fully modular power supply here with this RM850X, we can literally just drop this guy in there and then he's fitted. However, what I'm inclined to do, we've got lots of room in this case and we could plug in things as we require them. However, it's easier to plan out in advance what cables you're going to put in. And you just want to support it through the hole there. Yep. Yep. And then just let that lower in. That's it. Cool. Turn all that around to there. So the main two types of screw that we're going to find in here are these two types. So we've got a metric M3 screw here and an imperial, I can never remember, 32.6, 32.2 or something like that. Imperial and metric is how I remember it, is much easier. Also known as just a coarse thread and a fine thread. So the power supply is all coarse thread or imperial screws. So we want 4 of these boys. I think my hand is in the way of everything, but I can't see.
There's 4 predetermined screw holes, and then there's sort of a curved bracketry to give you extra flex.
It's weird how the mounts work for ATX power supplies, and there are 2 sets of holes back there, so it can be mounted either way up.
Oh, I see that now. It's kind of
I have no idea why they didn't just make them symmetrical. There's probably a reason for that. There's probably some kind of bizarre legacy reason why they're not symmetrical. However, these days it's just annoying. It's like, just make them symmetrical. There's no reason not to. Cool. Right, that's our basic routing around the back done. And this will all get tweaked once we've plugged it all in. But we've got all the cables are going vaguely to where they need to be.
Okay.
Is the important thing. Right, let's flip it over again. So we're now going to put in the motherboard. So first thing we need to do is we need the I/O shield. So if you want to break out the I/O shield, I'm going to put that in. And while you're doing that, well, I'm also checking the standoffs in the case. And the standoffs are currently in the standard 9 arrangement.
Okay.
And that's probably going to be correct. I'm just going to double check our board. Yeah, our board is using the 9 arrangement. Common ones that you might have to move is this guy here sometimes goes there. This guy here sometimes goes there. However, R1, they are all in the actual 9 grid layout. So no action needed there. Cool. Right, so in goes our I/O shield. So that is just going to press in. So that end goes at the top. That's it. And so, yeah. So that goes in from the inside.
Okay.
Yeah. Now I start from one of the lower corners. And then you basically just have to press in corners. And these things are an animal. There's no way to explain how to do this. You just put it in there. And remember, if you've got a case that's got a flexible rear panel, and this one's got a bit of flex in it, remember to try just flexing the case a little bit if you need to. That's sounding good. I'm hearing satisfying clonks.
Clonks as the metal tabs pass.
Yeah, that looks spot on.
That feels okay.
Yeah, that's cool. And then the one thing we also check for is, this one's not too bad, but sometimes you get some pretty long earthing fingers sticking out from these, which love, like, for example, there's one, on some cases you'll get a really long earth finger sticking out from there that's supposed to sit on top of the Ethernet port. And it will go into the Ethernet port and block your Ethernet port. And the only way to fix that is to take the motherboard out, or at least loosen it all off, and that means, yeah.
Thank you.
Right, so drop this guy in. Feel free to, common ways to hold it. You can grab hold of this, you can grab hold of that. And yeah, just maybe one hand around the back would also be helpful. Pretty much nothing on here is going to fall off as long as you're not holding onto a capacitor or something stupid. So yeah, just see if you can. Oh, hang on a sec. Let me. I think there we go. That should be fairly. That's good.
Oops.
That's fine.
That's because I was holding onto the back.
Let's go. There we go. Yeah, there we go. Right. So yeah, if you let go now, and then you can now just you can now just sort of, by grabbing corners and stuff like that, just guide it in. And again, you're guiding the ports into the I/O shield, because once that guy's lined up, you're in basically.
Okay.
So yeah, just carry on fettling that. This center hole, the standoff there will stick up slightly. So when you get that right, it'll poke into that hole and lock into place.
Okay.
So I think you need to go down a bit. Yeah.
I'll try to feel under the edge there if I can.
Yeah.
That felt.
That's looking good. I think you just need to give it a shove now, basically. Yeah, there you go. That's it.
Oh, I see.
That just clicked in.
Came through. Okay.
Yeah. And if we look down those screw holes, oh, this guy's not quite right. I think that. There we go.
Okay.
There was a nice little click there. That's looking good. All of our screw holes are lined up, which means we're in.
Hey.
And just verify the back. Just have a look at all those ports. Make sure those look nice. They're all sticking through nicely and nothing poking into any of them.
They are. They just need to come down, but I guess when it gets screwed down.
Yeah, I mean, if I press that down.
Yeah, that's moved. That's moved. Yeah.
Yeah. So when the screws go in, that's just going to press those into alignment now.
Cool.
Good. All right. So we're going to screw those in. So motherboard standoffs. Sometimes they're imperial, sometimes they're metric. So I'm going to grab a metric screw and I'm going to test. Yeah, those are metric.
Okay.
So we're going to get another 8 of those. One. Right, so we're going to start plugging all this stuff in. Pick a cable, basically. May as well start with the CPU cable. This guy's really easy to forget. So that guy needs to 8-pin into 8-pin. as I mentioned, we've got the extra 4-pin, but we really don't need that guy to be connected up.
Okay.
So yeah. So the locking connector is at the top. So that locking lever needs to be at the top. So we've got to sort of pull that and twist it round and stuff so it goes in nicely.
Gotcha.
So we've got slack on that. So if you need to pull it through, then we can pull it through. So what I would do with that now is I would go right back like that.
Oh, I see.
And so you've just got that little bit there at the top.
Gotcha.
There we go.
Nice.
Banging. Yeah, and that's quite happy with that turn.
Cool, okay.
Yeah. And we may need to do a little bit of shuffling with that when we put the water cooler back in. It might want to butt up against that cable, but we'll see when we get there.
Okay.
Cool. Right, down we go again. So that guy is keyed. There is a missing pin on it, which will align with a missing pin on the HD audio connector down there.
There we go.
Yeah, that looks good.
I don't like it.
Yeah, I could see you having to step it down there. That's normal.
Cool.
All right. Yeah, that guy looks happy. So in that case, yeah, the Noodly boys.
This makes sense, yeah.
Okay. Cool. Right, so those are going to go into this guy here. So as you can see, there is super small writing there. If you can't see it with your own eyes, we can grab the motherboard manual as well. And I'll do this because I never show this on video.
Oh, okay.
So we'll actually grab the manual. There we go. So number 13 is system panel connectors, 20 and 5-pin panel, page 1 to 13. Oh, no, chapter 113. I thought that was between pages 1 and 13 then. I'm like, thanks, I hate it. However, it's 113. There we go. So, and there is the pin out for this front panel here. So as you can see, it's got all the wiring there, including the positives and negatives. So that's how we're going to hook it all up. So most of these we're going to leave empty, but it's got the ones that are needed. Most of the important ones are actually standardized. So you can see the hard drive LEDs in the bottom left, power LED in the top left, power button at the top, reset button at the bottom. And that's basically all anyone cares about. There's also the speaker that will plug in there. The reason why there's a second power LED there is old legacy systems. On old motherboards, you used to be able to plug in a bi-color power LED that would change from, say, green to orange when it goes into standby mode and things like that. But no one uses that guy anymore. It's still there on a lot of motherboards, but no one uses it. So yeah, although hypothetically you can plug your power LED into there and it will work. It's just not technically the correct one.
Okay.
So my advice would be to start with the hard drive LED because that's going to be right in the bottom corner. So that's the hardest one to get to. Start on the bottom row because you'll immediately bury the bottom, because when you put in the top ones, they bury the bottom ones.
Gotcha, okay.
Yeah, that looks good.
This guy was top right, is that right?
So the power, that goes directly above the reset.
Oh yes, that's why you should put the reset in first.
That's right. And yeah, we don't have a power, normally you'd have a power LED there as well, but in this case, it looks like the power LED is being run from the RGB hub on this one.
Okay.
So that's how they're managing that. Cool. Right, that's fine. So what we're going to do now, well, we'll get our ATX stuff in. Then we need to pull our RGB header back through because this guy needs to come up over here.
Oh, yes.
And then we'll pull these back so we pull that excess back through. And then we'll tie back the excess. Right, so next guy is going to be our ATX connector. Right, this guy, I think we've actually got to turn him around because as you can see, when we fold that over like that, the locking bar is going to be on the wrong side of the connector.
Gotcha.
So like we did with the CPU one, we're going to go vertical and we're going to adjust that. Feel free to just bend and flex these wires. It's sometimes known as training the wire, where you deliberately bend the wires to get all of the wires in the bundle to be flowing in the same direction.
Yes.
Because it's not stiff because you're damaging it. It's stiff because there's 24 wires in that bundle. So yeah, literally you just get the wire and you just go and you just bend it the direction you need it to go.
Is it worth doing the addressable RGB wire as we're here?
May as well, actually, yeah. So that's this guy here.
Cool. That's going to this one here, isn't
yeah.
it? So
this is a horrifying connector. So again, if we wanted to go over like that, again, it's the wrong way round. But actually with this guy, what I'd recommend doing is looping like that. Okay. So I'm just going to pull on that guy a little bit and... Oh, no, that needs a bit more slack. Have we got slack? I think that's caught, isn't it?
It goes down to the bottom.
Yeah. Do we need to... Yeah, we do actually need to undo that. We need more. This is a horrid connector, so just do what you can, basically. You've got it the right way around, and it will feel horrid when you plug it in. Because the lock on is so vicious that it will just go ka-chunk. Oh, or not. That's in.
Wow, okay. Right.
If you tried to pull that out, it would feel horrifying. However, that much being said...
is that now in the way of the ATX?
That's exactly what I was thinking. Yeah, I'm actually going to... It's not too bad. The connectors on this motherboard are actually really nice.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, that's good. And you'll probably want to walk that in. Failing that, the other method is we've got it roughly located. So what we'll do is we'll just we'll settle the slack on the other side. That's fine. That's enough that it will fold flat and will go flat again. And then as the finishing touch, you just get your fingers underneath the board if you can, so you can press down, and then just use your thumbs just to go click like that.
Okay.
So
giving the board a bit of support for it.
Yeah, that's it. So give it a good shove if you need to. That looks good. Yeah, I think you're in.
Okay.
And just as a test, yeah, the locking lever is closed, and I can press the top of that and I can feel the rocking lever rocking back and forth.
Okay.
So that's how I know that it's definitely in, because I'm going to get a close-up shot of that for posterity. There we go. So we know that that's in properly because this guy is properly closed over the lock, and I can just press on that and you can see that lever actuating. If it's not in properly, that lever will be rigid and it won't want to move because it's jammed on the lock. It will be jammed open. But we can see that is actuating nicely, and that means that the connector is in properly. And like, you're not going to take this connector out very often, so it's well worth taking the time to make sure that's absolutely in properly. So yeah, that's that.
Cool.
So when you end up with a wire like this, it's always a little bit annoying just having that splash of colour there. What you can do, and what I do on my cases, is if I find my roll of it, you can use electrical tape and just put a little bit of black electrical tape to cover the colour.
Okay.
Or if I find my roll of it, I've just spotted it. This is fabric tape, also known as stick tape. It's used for taping up a hockey stick.
Oh, okay.
And as you can see, it's like a fabric. So because it's got a fabric look to it, it looks like electrical tape is just plasticky electrical tape and looks horrid. Whereas this fabric tape, you put it on there and it's invisible. It's a fabric wrap.
Yeah.
And it looks pleasant.
Okay.
And it's obviously more flexible as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to stick that on there like that. That's what we're looking for. Colour be gone. We might benefit from just putting some zip ties around like that. Yes. In fact, I'm going to do that now because there's going to be a couple of other guys that go along here, but these guys are this is structural power line stuff and just rigid cables that I'm never going to move.
Yeah.
Like fan wires and stuff like that, I like to have them a bit more accessible because fans and stuff, you change those out and you swap them around and you move them around. Cables like this are probably not going to come out in the build's lifetime, unless you're doing major work, in which case you're going to strip it down to the chassis again anyway. Cool. Right, fan cables. So, we do have enough headers on the motherboard to plug each one of these into a motherboard header. Or, something else that I do have available to me, which you might want to consider, is, I need to pull it out the Corsair, but I do also have a triple fan splitter.
Oh, okay.
So we can just triple fan splitter and plug that into one header, which gives you the advantage that you're controlling all the fans off of a single channel. So
good. Yeah.
I would do that because it'll end up being tidier and just more convenient.
Makes sense as they're all in the same
They're all at the front. Yeah. You're going to run them at the same speed. You're not. Yeah. So obviously, if you had fans up the top or at the back, you'd want those on separate channels. But the front 3 fans, as far as I'm concerned these days, there's no reason not to just triple fan splitter those together.
Cool. Yeah.
So yeah. I do like it when cases have these Velcro ties. They do make it easier to work with. If you don't have Velcro ties like this, what I often do is start off just by using some wire ties to tie everything in place. And then when you're done and you know all your cables are in place for reels, then you replace all the wire ties with zip ties. And that saves you from having to chop off a zip tie half a dozen times while you're building the computer. We're going to do a quick trial fit. Okay. So obviously we've got the option of front mounting the water cooler, which would be something like that. And that puts all the rad and stuff up front. However, what I think we should do on this build, obviously headroom allowing, is I think we should do that and top mount the rad. Because then what that will do is it will mean that all the light coming off of the fans comes into the case. So that helps us get the best out of the RGB fans. And that's especially true because annoyingly our Corsair H100i RGB Pro XT didn't come with RGB fans, which I think is a bit odd. I'm not sure why it didn't. Clearly this is a model that just doesn't come with it, because I notice it doesn't have the RGB headers coming off of the pump either. So yeah, I'm curious as to why they make an RGB model that doesn't have RGB fans, but whatever, that's something that can be changed at a later date. Yeah. So we're going to start by mounting up the radiator. Now, because we don't have RGB fans, what I'm going to do is I'm going to recommend that we sandwich the fans between the radiator and the top of the case. This is slightly more awkward to fit, but it gives you just that flat radiator look at the top instead of having just some non-RGB fans on show when your other fans are RGB. So it hides your non-illuminated fans, which I think gives a cleaner look. Right, so our radiator screws are these big long guys here. So these screws are long enough that they're going to go all the way through the case, all the way through the fan and into the radiator. Cool. And then optionally, there'll also be some short screws in here. So if we were putting, because the other way, if we had the fans underneath the radiator, we'd go through the fans and into the radiator, and then that whole assembly would then bolt to the top with short screws into the top of the case. So doing it this way, it requires fewer screws, but it requires us to hold the radiator and fans and case all in alignment at the same time to get the screw through. Gotcha. So this is harder to fit, but it gives a very, very clean finish. What the hell? Oh, we've got nothing over here. Oh, no, it's too far forward. It's too far forward. That's not working. Right, so we just test fitted the radiator, and we were hitting the CPU power cable pretty badly there. So we need this guy out of the way. I think. Can we just fold him flat? Do you think that will clear? Well, we can test actually by offering up the fan. Oh man! Oh, that's so in the way. Seems to be the ones that they want us to use. Right. No. I'm sitting on the VRM heatsink there. That's no bueno. Wow. That's nuts, man. How does this case not clear a top mount radiator? That's ridiculous. That's crazy. Is there nothing I can do about that? Yeah, we could steer. I think we can steer around the CPU power cable, but we cannot clear the VRM heatsink. That's not even a tall heatsink either. This case just doesn't have the headroom. In order to fix this, they needed to offset the mounts to be further out. Yeah. That's where they've gone wrong. They've centered the top grill too much. Is it actually centered on the case? It is, yeah. A lot of cases. Is it centered on the... Oh, yeah. See, I don't know if you can see it from back there, but can you see how offset all those rails are? Yeah, yeah. All the way out on the side of the case there. And even on this one, it can be a bit of a squeeze. But where those rails are all the way out over on the right, that's how they managed to clear it on this one, which has even less headroom than that case does. Whereas, yeah, that's very frustrating. On the P400 here, these holes are not offset enough. They've tried to centralize the rails, and in doing so, massively compromised radiator clearance. Right, our only option is to front mount then.
Yeah.
That's all we can do. That's a bummer. I really wanted to top mount on this. So we'll front mount the rad, and the RGB fans at the front are going to blow through the radiator.
Cool.
Which is fine. And then we can either go... We've got the option. We can either stick the two Corsair fans up the top anyway as exhausts, or we can just leave it out and just go empty.
Okay.
So either way, later on down the line, the logical thing to do would be to swap out and add in some more RGB fans if you wanted to add more RGB. Okay. Which is personally what I would do.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, but for now we can stick the Corsair fans up there for some exhaust. So do you want to go minimalist empty, or stick the extra fans up there for additional exhaust? Personally, I would put the fans in.
It seems good to have it. I think with this extra sort of bezel here, they'll be slightly hidden certainly from the side view.
Yeah, anyway. I don't think you're going to notice them.
No, and actually, ironically, being non-RGB makes them less noticeable.
Yeah,
by that very nature. So yeah, two up the top.
Yeah,
seems the least
obtrusive.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I would do. Yeah. Okay, so new plan is to front mount. So for front mount, the meta for front mounting radiators these days is hoses pointing down, which makes the hose routing just a little bit more awkward because you can't bury the hoses up the top. However, it is a known fact that they tend to run quieter if the hoses are down because you get less air bubbles gurgling around the system. And in the meantime, Carl is going to start piloting some screw holes in these fans because these guys are not tapped by default. So to do that, we're going to grab a fan screw. We're going to grab a self-tapping fan screw and the biggest screwdriver I have, which is that orange handle one, wherever that's gone. And the way I recommend doing this when you've got new fans and you want to pilot the holes in them is put the fan on a flat surface somewhere and just screw the screw into the fan yourself so you can make sure that you pilot that hole dead straight into the fan. Then put it in the case and do it when you're cack-handed. So yeah, that's what I would do.
Okay.
Cool. Right. So now we're gonna put the pump head on the CPU, and then we run all the cables through the back. Then we do all the plumbing around the back for the water cooler, and then the graphics card is going in.
Huzzah!
So these are the AMD brackets for the cooler, and the way these work is fairly ingenious. I'm not sure I prefer this to the old style Acetec system, but I don't know if this is an Acetec system, but either way. So if we take that off, and what happens is these just pop out. I'm gonna stick my thumb in this thermal paste. You watch. There we go. That's one.
Yes, now you've lost one. You kind of lost the leverage you had over the other one.
There we go. And that's the other one. So those are the Intel ones. And the AMD guns just slide in like so, with these bits pointing what will be upwards.
That was a nice click.
Yes.
I enjoyed that.
Yeah, that was a good click, wasn't it? Are you ready for another one?
That's pleasant. I enjoyed that. Yes.
Right, that guy's ready to go on. That guy's going to go on. We'll put him just upright for a sec because we just need to prepare. We just need to prepare some hooks and screws. And so now what we're going to have is two of these. Okay. So I'm working upside down here. So that's going to go through there and into a thumb screw. Just put 2 turns in that, that's all we need. And we'll get another one. I'll give you the honours. I'll just lay that down. Right, so we're going to pick that up. We're going to plonk it on top of the CPU, and those two hooks are going to go over these two hooks.
I see. Okay.
And that's what's going to happen. And so what I would do is just focus on holding the head down, and then hold the head down with one hand while the other hand just hooks those in place. And then as soon as they're over, we tighten those down, and it will then pull it down into the motherboard. So, have a go.
Here we go. Okay. So lift this up and away.
Yeah.
The logo that's obviously very important to
me. Indeed. Don't worry about too much what the hoses are doing. Just let them go where they want to go. We'll sort those out afterwards. So yeah, you might find it easier to hook one over first, but personally, 9 times out of 10, I think it's easier to press the head down and then put your hooks in place.
Maybe my hand over the top. I think might give you a bit of downward force.
Yeah, and just put a couple of turns into those screws just so then it can't come off when you release your hand. And then you can, when that's, doesn't need to be tightened, but once it's secured, you can then let go and release your breath.
One of those words, when someone says the word breath, you suddenly think about your own breath and suddenly go, ah yes, I should be doing that.
And then you start thinking about your tongue as well.
Okay, it appears to be on enough and loose enough that I feel comfortable to release my right hand.
Oh, hey, and there we go. Good. Right, so that's now on. So now what we're going to do is we're literally just going to screw these down until they stop.
Cool.
That's trying to sit a little bit. That's trying to twist at the moment, but as what we'll do is I'll just hold that a little bit straight, and then I like to use a screwdriver personally, and all the way down basically. I'll let you. Oh yeah, sorry. I'm kind of here now. So
as you had the screwdriver as well, it seemed to make sense.
Yeah, and literally just going all the way down to the stop. There we go. That's just come to a natural stop. That's straight. And that's on. And just for posterity, that's fine. If I tried to twist that and it was sort of going, then it's clearly not on properly.
Yes.
However, that's on. That's not going anywhere. So yeah, good. Right. So then we're going to run these out the top, and then these hoses, those are just sort of going to sit, and they're just going to create loop in the middle of the case like that.
This one should be easier, being slightly bigger. There we go.
Got him. Whew. All right.
Okay.
Now I need to defog my glasses. There we go. And we're basically done. So what we've done around the back here, having to front mount the radiator with existing RGB fans there has kind of thrown out our entire plan for the fan management. So what I've done is I've connected the triple fan splitter for the front 3 fans up to the water cooler. So the Corsair H100 has control of the front fans, and then our 2 top fans, just the Corsair fans, we've just plumbed those down to chassis 2 and 3 on the motherboard. So this might backfire on me slightly if the Corsair H100 won't do 3-pin fan control. So I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that that's going to work. I think we should be fine. As long as the H100 is happy to do 3-pin fan control, so DC control, then we'll have no issues. The H100 will control the front fans for airflow through the radiator, and then we've got the top exhaust fans just as case fans. So that should all be fine. Past that, we've got everything plugged in, just except the graphics card. So now we're literally going to run the graphics card cable out into the middle of the case, plug in the graphics card, and we're finally ready to power up. So let's get that done. Cool. All right, so we need to lose these 2 back screws. So if you pull those out. Bam.
Cool.
That's it. So, hang on a sec. Locking connector open.
Top tip.
That's looking good. Yeah, that's ready for a shove down now.
Right, shoving here?
Yeah, pretty much. That looks good. Yeah, you're in.
Hey.
Cool. Right, and screws in the back. That guy goes in there. Okay, that goes in there. And now what we'll do is we'll put that guy back there, and then we'll zip tie the daisy chain connector back to the wire, and that's basically as tidy as that gets.
Yeah, yeah.
I've tried all kinds of methods for making this guy disappear, and just elegantly tying it back is the best you can do, basically. The ultimate solution is to get braided extensions.
Indeed,
so
yeah.
again, that's another possible future upgrade. Yeah. However, this seems like a good time to break out a white cable tie.
White cable tie, I agree.
Yeah. Now can I spin that? Spin. There we go. That's around the back now. There we go. Power. Right. And we're ready to put the side panel on. But for one thing.
Right.
You need to peel off that bit there.
For me.
Oh yeah, that was a good noise.
It's a good noise. I enjoyed that.
Excellent. If you'd like to take the honour of pushing the power button. Groovy.
Oof.
Right, now we wait for a post. Okay, power cycled once, now it's posting, I think. Yep, we got a blue light on the monitor, and we're into BIOS.
Huzzah.
First try. Right, yeah, and we've got DC control of those front fans because they're not. If we didn't, they'd be going at 100% at the moment.
Oh wow!
So
okay.
yeah, that's quite impressive actually. The Corsair cooler has auto-detected DC control of the front fans, so confirmed you can use 3-pin fans on it. Cool.
Outstanding.
There we go. It's been a long afternoon here. We got hung up in a couple of places with this one, with the water cooler not fitting at the top, which is a massive oversight of this case that really bums me out because, I'm very disappointed about that, in short. It makes this case very difficult to recommend if you're water cooling because, as I say, you kind of want to have those LED fans on show. And it makes everything very inconvenient to have to front mount your radiator in this RGB airflow case. I would much rather top mount the radiator for this particular build. But it's literally not possible to top mount a radiator in this case. If I'm wrong, then by all means, let me know what you did about it in the comments, short of cutting things up, which, obviously everything is possible if you get a Dremel out, but, don't really want to have to do that. Shouldn't have to do it either. But there it is. However, the rest of the build looks really good. There's obviously some future upgrades that can be done with this. I was saying to Kyle that a trio of white RGB fans, 2 at the top and 1 at the back, would look really good as a later upgrade to this, as would some braided extensions, just to get rid of some of this bits. However, as the initial build, it's looking pretty good, ain't it?
It's come out very nice considering the shortcomings we found.
Yeah.
Yeah, this does look good. White and black is a good combo.
Since this build was filmed a couple of months ago, we've got a few shots of the finished product. Kyle now has an RTX 3070 fitted and took the plunge on a triple pack of Corsair RGB fans. These new fans are fitted on the front panel, which frees up the stock RGB fans to be fitted at the top and back, completing the airflow in the case and providing some nice wash lighting. Of course, you can replace all the fans with aftermarket ones, but that somewhat defies the point of buying an RGB edition case in the first place. Either way, this build is now complete, and Kyle is finally enjoying a real gaming PC instead of his rather limited laptop. I've left a lot of stuff in this video that I would normally gloss over in hope that it's helpful to some of the less experienced viewers out there, so thanks for sticking with us, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Support and social links are down below, or hang around for the end card. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.